Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Are you ready for a miracle? As ready as I can be. Are you ready for a miracle? You probably won't get it here, I'm sorry. The Steam sale hasn't been as great as it used to be. Blasphemous it may be, but it is true. I remember the times when I didn't own everything on Steam. It just happens. It's like, oh, those are all great. Shame I own all of them. This isn't just happening to me. This is happening to a lot of people. They've bought all the good games on Steam already. Oh well, never mind. The Steam Summer Sale is upon us as before. This one's going to run from the 19th to the 30th of June, and it's going to be changing deals every day at 10 AM PDT, which is 1 PM on the East Coast of the US. That would be 6 PM in the British Isles, 7 PM Central European Summertime, 8 PM Eastern European Summertime, and the rest of it you can figure out yourself. Whatever the case, there'll be new deals every 24 hours. We don't know about rollover yet. That will probably happen. They usually do that, and they've got something called the Summer Adventure going on, which is crafting badges to earn in-game items, community and team rewards, and the potential of free games. There is currently a daily scoreboard with various different colored teams, and well, what can I say? Red pretty much sucks at this point. What's going to happen is every day, each of the colored teams will be earning points. The one with the most points will randomly have 30 members of that team given 3 games from their wish list. So do make sure that you have actually updated your wish list. And you'll also get bonus summer sale trading cards if you contributed any points whatsoever. To earn points, you need to craft summer adventure badges. You can also craft other game badges, but you won't get as many points for them. You use 10 of the trading cards from the summer sale to put them together, make a badge, and so on and so forth. All the instructions are on the Steam page, but you'll have to click either join the team or craft a badge to be automatically assigned to one. That's the way that it currently works. Now, if you craft the badges, you actually get in-game items for a number of different titles, so that's something you might want to have a look at, since you may actually be playing some of them. You get things like the precisely calibrated string stick bow, which is from Realm of the Mad God. Oh, there's a Warframe skin. That's actually quite a nice one. I might go for that one. There's a decent amount of stuff for Mighty Quest for Epic Loot, Duel of Champions, Sins of a Dark Age, Team Fortress 2, Warframe Loadout, Battle Block Theater, Path of Exile, and so on and so forth. So there is actually a reason to do this beyond simply getting a very small chance to win free games. Anyway, that's how that works. The usual caveats apply to any Steam Summer Sale. If it's not a flash deal or a daily deal, you should wait until the final day of the sale in order to pick them up. Now, by final day, we usually mean the 29th, not the 30th, because what they usually mean by that is they're going to stop the sale on the 30th, and a lot of people got burned by that in the past. So if you see a game you want and it's not on flash sale and it's not on daily deal, then please do wait, because it has the potential of having a heavier discount. Also, flash sales have been historically the deepest discounts available, so you will not see them go deeper than the daily deal, but they will both be equivalent. So if you see something on flash sale, it's not going to be cheaper when it goes on daily, assuming it does, but you might as well pick it up then if you have the opportunity to do so. I'll also try to do a hidden gems list, which will cover some of the unlisted titles which can often be found during a Steam sale, since there are thousands of games on sale at the moment. I'll dig through those later on in the sale and see what I can find for you. Alright, that's pretty much it. So let us begin, shall we? And we're going to start off with Dead Rising 3. It's not out yet. This game is not out yet. Yet there is a discount, 25% off. Huh. Alright, well, it's cool to see a discount on something that isn't out yet, I suppose, because that's maybe a reason to pre-purchase. That's one of those rare times when you might say to yourself, yeah, actually, maybe that is worth a pre-order if I'm saving that much. The problem with Dead Rising 3 at the moment is that they've confirmed it's going to be at 30 FPS, but you're going to be able to unlock it to higher than that, but they can't guarantee it will actually work properly. Yeah, I kid ye not. There's been a lot of speculation as to why that would be, whether it just be a bad port, or whether it simply be that the engine was built for the Xbox One and that there is no way to really sort things out. Well, you know, I would like to test this first myself before I would give any recommendation whatsoever. Dead Rising 3 was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was as good as Dead Rising 1 or 2, but it was still pretty good nonetheless. Dead Rising 2 is actually available. You can get that on Steam, but it's not on a good sale at the moment. It's actually not discounted at all. Dead Rising 2 did have games for Windows Live. I'm actually not sure if they stripped that off there. I'm pretty sure it still has it. The port was okay, but not brilliant. So it's hard for me to recommend this because I just don't know how good the PC port is actually going to be. If you've already played it and you want to play it on PC at 1080p with better graphics, and you know it's good, and you're okay with 30 FPS, then this is probably the cheapest you're going to see it for a good long time. Of course, if you're not okay with any of those things, I would personally hold off. Just wait, because we just do not know how good this port is going to be, and we don't know what the effects of unlocking the frame rate will be either. So make your decision based on that information. I should point out, by the way, as we go into the next title, this is not actually a chart, this is just a random order of stuff. We got this dumped on us at short notice, so we might do a chart in the future episodes, we'll see. Whatever the case, the next game is Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, 80% off. How many times have I recommended you Witcher 2? So many times, because frankly it's been on sale so many times. In fact, it was very recently on sale for that very price. It's cheap as chips, and it's one of the best RPGs on PC. If you don't already own it, I really do not understand why. If it's maybe because you just didn't want to get into the series yet, well, I think now would be the time, because Witcher 3 is well on the way. Witcher 2 holds up incredibly. It's still one of the best looking games that has ever been made for anything. And it is a really good action RPG. I would strongly suggest it to you. It's got a lot of extra content, which is absolutely free. Playing the original is not necessary. There's a lot of recap stuff that's available in the tutorial, and I would strongly suggest actually doing the tutorial because it fills in a lot of the background, and there's a good piece of animation that was produced by CD Projekt Red, which tells you a little bit about the history of the Witcher franchise and what happened in the first game, so you don't actually have to play the first game. Witcher 2 is incredible. There's no doubt about that, and CD Projekt Red is one of the most supportive developers when it comes to PC, and I certainly believe that if you don't own a copy of this, then you're missing out. DayZ, 15% off. Yep, an early access game got a discount. This has actually stirred up a little bit of controversy because people believe this is taking space that could have otherwise been given to a different game. Well, I don't necessarily buy that, especially with the number of flash sales that are going on. I think there's probably enough space for everything, but recommending DayZ at this point is next to impossible. This is a game, by the way, that they themselves are suggesting you do not buy it unless you clearly understand what early access means and are willing to participate in the ongoing development cycle. If you are not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be purchasing this full stop. It is nowhere near finished. It's obviously the progenitor of this particular genre, and when it's done, it'll probably be the best in the genre, unless it gets run over by something like The Forest, which might very well happen looking at it. But whatever the case, it's not complete, it's nowhere near complete, and let's be honest, for $25, what else could you buy? Well, you could buy The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, Far Cry 3, Don't Starve, and XCOM, and maybe still have a little bit left over. It's very hard to justify buying an unfinished multiplayer survival game versus a bunch of finished good games. So just bear that one in mind. As you could probably tell, I'm not really a huge fan of early access. Far Cry 3, 75% off. That also, by the way, is a discount on Blood Dragon. I think this is the deepest discount Blood Dragon has had up to this point. Usually it's been about 50% off. It's got 75% off as well. Blood Dragon, by the way, is standalone. So if you don't want to buy Far Cry 3, which actually would be kind of silly because Far Cry 3 is great, then just getting Blood Dragon for the cost of a sandwich is not too shabby. Whatever the case, this comes at a time before Ubisoft and its watchdog nonsense. Far Cry 3 was a good port for the most part, although there were some issues with crossfire. You might want to look up your specific configuration and see if there were any problems there. It ran pretty flawlessly for me, an amazing looking game, and a great open world first-person shooter, which for the most part had a good plot, although it sort of spiraled off towards the end, as Far Cry has a tendency of doing. Blood Dragon is a spoof of 80s action movies taking place in a futuristic, kind of cheesy Far Cry 3 universe. It's also brilliant in its own way. It doesn't have as much going for it as Far Cry 3 did, but it's also like less than half the price, so that's worth bearing in mind too. I have no hesitation in recommending either of them, although bear in mind the multiplayer is pretty much dead, so you're buying this for single player. Bear in mind that unless there have been some very recent changes, both of these still require a Uplay account and client, so if that bothers you, you may wish to avoid. Divinity Original Sin, 20% off. Another early access game. I'm not a fan of throwing these early access games into the daily deals. I may have mentioned earlier, of course, that it's probably not going to take up too much space, but I have to wonder, you know, how many early access games are we going to get on sale? I don't think that that should be something that we should be tempting people to buy. The whole idea behind early access is that you want to support early development. That seems to be the antithesis of what sales are really about, buying complete older games at a discount. Whatever the case, while this is a good game in its current state, it's not done yet. It is a more traditional style of RPG, and it's very good at what it does, with a very nice tactical battle system, a lot of flexibility in different ways to solve quests and problems. Once it's done, it's probably going to be a really good CRPG, and it's almost done, but it's not quite finished yet. So as a result, I would recommend avoiding it until the final version comes out, which is a bit of a shame because, like I said, it is pretty good, and maybe you just do want to dive in, but I think an RPG would be the last thing you want to buy on early access. You'd want to play that thing from start to finish in its complete state, not go back to do stuff you did previously. Especially in a story-driven game, that doesn't seem like a very good idea at all, so I don't know, maybe there are some people that disagree with me on that, but I'm personally not into the idea of buying a game like Divinity on early access. XCOM Enemy Unknown, 75% off. We have seen similar deep discounts on this in the past, but there has been something of a renewed interest in XCOM as a direct result of the Long War mod that has come out, which really adds a lot to the game, but also makes it a much, much lengthier and arguably more frustrating experience. It depends if that's what you're really looking for. Right now, the Long War mod is set up to work with Enemy Within as well, which is currently discounted at 67% off, which I believe would be the largest discount we've seen on this up to this point, unless I missed one. But that is a pretty good discount for a pretty good expansion pack. You can pick up the complete edition, but you don't really save too much by doing so. It's about the same price. It does come with the DLC, but the DLC is just pointless. It's really bad, so there's no point in wasting your time with that. What I will say is there's a kind of nice bundle that's XCOM Enemy Unknown plus the Bureau. Now, the Bureau was really promising. It wasn't that brilliant, but the Bureau, if you add it on to XCOM Enemy Unknown with the pack, is 83% off, which in the US, that's only $1 more. So for $1, it's absolutely worth playing, no doubt about that. It had potential. It wasn't brilliant. I was a bit disappointed in it, to say the least, but I think for that price, yeah, absolutely pick it up. I mean, that's the cheapest you will ever see, the Bureau, so go for it. Outside of that, though, XCOM is obviously a very good game. There are some decent mods now available for it, so if you want it to be a little bit more like the original experience, you can do so. Although, if you are looking for something that's very close to the original, then Xenonauts is a better bet for you. That is not currently on sale, however, so it's not really surprising. It's only been out for like a day. But regardless, on its own, it is a good interpretation of the XCOM franchise, and I have played it for like 90 hours, so I'd say I got my money's worth. Democracy 3, 66% off. Pretty good discount for an already reasonably cheap game there from Positech and the one and only Cliff Harris. This is a very enjoyable political simulator, and if you like twiddling knobs and sliding sliders and seeing what happens, this is perfect for that. I actually really enjoyed my time with Democracy 3, simply because it's a game that allows you to kind of create your own story, and especially if you happen to play your home country, you can do all sorts of things, and it's tricky to do it. Like, if you want to turn, say, the United States into some kind of socialist paradise, it's going to be very difficult to do that. If you want to turn one of the European states into more of a fascist dictatorship, again, kind of difficult to do it, but not impossible, and that's where the challenge lies. That's what's really enjoyable. It might look like just a web of numbers, and technically it is, but it does a phenomenal job of representing a lot of complex issues and demographics of voters in a really easy to understand nexus, a web. It's really good, actually. It looks boring, it looks like a spreadsheet, but actually it's incredible. So I would certainly recommend that if you like the idea of twiddling around with some political nonsense. The expansion packs for that are also discounted. They weren't very expensive to begin with. It's only 25% off, but you can add such things as really extreme parts of politics as well as a social engineering expansion, which looks okay, but personally I think the base game is definitely good enough for the time being. Don't Starve, 75% off. Really good price. I mean, it wasn't exactly an expensive game to begin with. You know, this is a game that did early access right. and got out of early access and continue to add content and even has a nice timer as to when the next piece is going to come along. They did release an expansion for that. It's called Reign of Giants. It's not particularly well discounted at the moment. That's not really surprising. You can buy the two for a 60% overall discount, but that basically doubles the price of Don't Starve. So you don't really need to buy that as of yet. I think the original game has more than enough content to try out and see whether or not you dig it. Because some people won't. You know, it's a survival game. It is a sort of 2D survival game with a very unique art style. And it dumps you in a hostile world with nothing to your name, and you are tasked with surviving as long as possible, discovering strange new technologies, building a base, and all that good stuff, and of course managing your sanity and unlocking different characters. It's really unique. It's very well executed. I think it's the king of survival games at the moment, honestly, and it is something that you should be looking into if that sounds like it would be up your alley. Just bear in mind it is one of those permadeath games, so if you don't like losing a bunch of progress, then Don't Starve may not be for you. And last but by no means least, we have Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, 80% off, a really nice discount for an exceptional game, I've got to say. I wasn't too big on Sins before the Rebellion expansion pack came out. There's so much content that's been added in between the original release and the 3 expansions that now I really do enjoy it, because they really did fill in a lot of the holes that that game had and sort out a lot of the problems. They put some better endgame goals in there. The diplomacy is fantastic. I mean, they did an entire expansion for it, for God's sake. And Rebellion is standalone, so do by all means pick it up. If you don't have the original games, you actually do not need to worry about that whatsoever. You're not really going to be missing out on anything. This is also a good time to grab yourself Star Trek Armada 3, the mod that I demonstrated a few months back. That is pretty cool, and of course, if you got Rebellion, you can play it, and it's been updated since then. It's really getting some legs, and the modding scene for this particular title is still very much enjoyable. It is kind of a 4X, it's more of a light 4X. There's not much emphasis on the whole idea of expanding an empire in a peaceful manner. It's mostly RTS-style warfare with large blobs of spaceships, but there is a strong diplomatic element involved in it, and there's of course things like researching technology and finding different artifacts and trying to exploit the various rich systems of the galaxy. It's got 6 factions in it, it's got a hell of a lot of replayability, and frankly, it is fantastic. So, yeah, pick that up, definitely, no doubt about that. And there are a couple of DLC packs also available, Stellar Phenomenon and Forbidden Worlds. Alright, folks, that wraps me up for the day. Thank you very much for watching the Salebox. I will attempt to do these every day. Just as an FYI, I'm starting radiotherapy on Monday, and also starting my chemo Monday. I can't really predict how that's going to affect my schedule. What I'm hoping for is to be able to keep up with these on a daily basis, but if I do miss one, it's probably because I'm feeling kind of crappy that day and I can't bring myself to do it. But frankly, the show must go on, and that's exactly what's going to be happening if I can. Thank you for watching, folks, and I will see you next time.